I'm in a
And we're
chill.
live. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to
Hello.
In 5D. And got it. Check it out. The N5D Facebook or the homepage, n5d.com, got a whole new look. It's looking sharp. Check it out, n5d.com.
Amazing.
But today, we have a special guest, baby.
We do. We have my dear friend. I've known Julie for long years and years and years and years. And she
How
is,
old are you?
I'm going to say, very ancient. She, she is, I would say, the best counsellor that you could possibly get. That's how I'm going to say this.
Okay.
Because most counsellors out there are, how did that make you feel? They're not allowed to give you input. They're not allowed to, she blends her spirituality and living in the moment. And, she's going to explain it all in a minute. She blends the two together. And I really would hope that there are more counsellors out there who do have the guts to come out of this box that it's like, that's how you're supposed to counsel, and maybe learn to do the way that Julie's doing things. And she's also teaching others. Anyway, I could say, I want her to say it. So,
Okay.
yeah. So shall we introduce this lovely lady, Julie Rogers?
Okay.
Are you doing it? Am I doing it? Because we're both, yeah.
It's done.
This is Julie.
Hello.
Hi, Julie. Oh, she's sandwiched in the middle of us now.
Whoops. How about, no. Here we go.
You drag the other one. Yes, it. Yeah.
We're good.
So this is lovely Julie. And do you want to explain, first of all, a bit about your background, about why you got into counselling and that type of thing?
Yeah, sure. So, approximately about 25 years ago, I was at rock bottom and I was in a violent relationship. I was trying to reach out for help. There was nobody to help me. And just by chance, a friend said to me, "Do I want to attend this counselling course?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't want to be a counsellor. I want to help myself." And that's how it started. And I had the best therapist. We was meant to have counselling for a year, but I had it for 5 years. And I was just committed to learning all about me. And I met my inner child. I was learning all about my patterns, my learnt behaviour, and I was really committed to myself. And whilst attending college, I was thinking, I'm never going to pass this, because I really thought that I wasn't taking it in. But the mind was very clever, and it did. It naturally took it all in. So it kind of came alive in me. And here I am as a counsellor. But because of how it all started for me and how desperate I was to get that help, I like to help others, and that's the reason I do what I do.
Yeah. And you do it so well. You do. And it's from the heart. You can feel it whenever you're kind of talking about what it is that you do. It's there. So so what are you doing at the moment? How are you working things at the moment?
So at the moment I'm doing bereavement and loss counselling for all areas of Kent, well, most areas of Kent. But I always introduce the living in the moment, because nothing else makes sense. It's I encourage clients to, obviously, we work through trauma, we work through where they're stuck, and then I introduce their inner child to them, and I give them the tools to start living in the moment, and it works, and it does change their lives. I've had a lot of people that it's actually really changed their lives.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? And Greg's done some therapy work, haven't you?
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. I specialize with at-risk youth, and it usually had to be comorbid with some kind of drug issue as well. So it would be anger management and opioid abuse, those two things combined. But I was curious, though, when you were growing up, when you were a child, say in your
Yeah.
10, 12, 13 year, were you a good student back then?
No.
Okay. And I'm glad you're being blatantly
Theory.
honest about
Oh,
this.
you'll always know that I'm honest. And that's the thing. When I'm
Yeah.
with my clients, I am not a textbook counsellor.
No.
I'm real,
But
and they know I'm real. But no, I wasn't. And the reason being was because obviously I was going through so much trauma. Your mind switches off. You're scared. You're not taking
You've
anything
got a
in.
theory, haven't you, Greg?
pardon me?
Go on.
You've got a theory, haven't you?
Well, I graduated high school at the bottom of my class because I was always looking out the window, daydreaming. I
Me too.
found I found school incredibly boring. But when I got to college, or university as you would call it, all of a sudden I took psychology and I found that so fascinating that I not only graduated with honors for my BA, but also for my master's degree. So I graduated with honors for both because I found it so interesting. Now,
Yes.
I was wondering, how did you do in college?
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was
because
because I was believing in myself and I was working on myself and I was healing my inner child and I was
mhm,
being honest and true to me.
yeah, and you enjoyed learning
Yes, it was
about
different.
that too. It's
Yeah.
huge when you can go to school and learn something that you actually find interesting. Now, I did have another question about college. Here in the States, they teach you personality theory and you go over all these different styles of teaching.
Oh,
And I forgot the specific psychologist's name, but he went by the moniker of the psychologist. And
Yeah.
when people would talk, he'd just go, and there'd be this awkward silence. And the reasoning behind that was, with that awkward silence, the client's going to talk even more. They're going to say stuff that you would never get out of them otherwise. What styles did you kind of like?
okay. So mine is the person centered approach. I find I like the client to lead, and sometimes from my life's experience when I share, because sometimes counselors say, "Oh no, you mustn't share." But if you've worked on yourself and you've processed it, you're able to dip in and out without it affecting you, triggering you. So they feel more at ease. They think,
You
it's not
do.
just. It's really important that they can open up and be
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. Because you
Yeah,
don't then feel judged. You don't then
yeah,
feel you've got no problems. You're probably sitting there, you've got no problems, you're
yeah.
looking down at me. That's how people feel. And that's what it's like when I'm reading the cards as well. I give a little bit of myself as well when I'm doing that, because you're kind of on that level playing field then.
One
Yes.
one thing they teach you in the States is that you're not supposed to get emotionally involved.
Mm.
Mm,
You can't show empathy to your clients, and I think that's utter bullshit.
good.
It is
I'm going to
bullshit.
that.
Because there would be other therapists at this one particular company I worked for, and I would tell them, "Give me your most difficult clients. I'll reach them."
Yes,
Why?
100%.
Because yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's your beliefs on that?
I'm with you all the way. I'm with you all the way.
Yeah, break the
Every
rules.
single client I see as a unique individual, and I get into their world. And I mean, I know I get referrals and I look at them and I assess them and everything. But when I'm talking to that person in a blank page, I want to listen to them. I want to hear from them. I want to engage with them and not have any judgments there whatsoever. And they pick it up. And I think that's really important. They feel seen, they feel heard. And once they feel that you believe in them, they start to believe in themselves.
Hmm. And they'll open up more with you
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
if you can feel their pain and be honest with them.
Yeah.
100%.
For sure. For sure. So when you work for, did you say Kent County Council as well?
Well, it's part of them. The work that I'm doing is for them. I've been with this organisation for about 6 years. It's just got bigger and bigger. But I'm now running my Living in Moment workshop. So sometimes what I do is I work with a client and then I bring them into my workshops, which is quite in depth. It's a 6-week program, and it's first of all covering what happens when we're holding on, how to learn to let go. I do nice relaxations in there. And number 2 is anxiety, because we cannot skip over this. If we skip over it and we do all the fluffy stuff, it's going to come out. So I want them to get to know their own patterns, their own learnt behaviour. And obviously I teach this and talk about it. And week 3, again, is triggers, again, looking at our learnt behaviour. And then week 4 is the inner child week. And this is where it all changes. I love it. It's a very relaxed week. And I get them to meet their inner child, which honestly is just amazing. I love it. Week 5 is
up more deep emotions.
Oh, yeah, it really does. But I get them to give what they needed back then to themselves. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's nothing to do whether we had a good childhood or a bad childhood. It's about what we actually took in as that child, if that makes sense.
Do you find it's easier for men or women to open up and get to that inner child?
I wish I've got a lot. It sounds really bad. I've got quite a lot of men, but I can teach the men. But the women as well. They both seem to be, as you know. I've got volunteers that work with me that are men. They're amazing. But when I first meet them, they're so shy, and it's so beautiful to see somebody come to me really, with no hope, and then just shine, and then want to volunteer, and then want to get out there and do it and help others. It's amazing. But yeah, I wish there was more men counsellors. There's not enough.
Here, I don't know if it's the same there. I would assume so, but here in the States, you build up this macho kind of facade, and it took my daughter to break that down. When she was little, she'd curl up in a little ball on my lap and look at me with her big puppy dog eyes, and in her little angel voice, she'd go, "Daddy, can I watch a little football with you?" I'm like, "Sure, pumpkin." And 5 minutes later, she's doing everything else other than watching football. But she broke down that whole macho thing, because I'd be like, "Oh," instead of, if I had a son, it'd be like, "Oh, no, take it like a man, be a man," kind of thing, But the daughter broke that down, and she showed me that inner child that I haven't seen within myself. So do you find that sometimes maybe those people with children are easier to reach than those without children?
Sometimes, but I don't know how I do it. I don't know how I do it, but I just do. But I can kind of gauge where somebody is. So when they're talking to me, I can kind of get their pattern before they do, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And normally it goes back to a childhood experience, and it has affected the whole of their life, if that makes sense. For an example, I had a client that was locked in a room many, many years ago and was terrified, and her mum would not help her, which she's now, she's getting on in life, and she's realised just by this one session, oh my God, I did not process them feelings, and it's kept me a victim. So she goes into them relationships because it's normal to her. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So once they make that connection, they find their voice, and they start to believe in themselves, love themselves, heal themselves. It's just amazing. But
walk us through that. So she was locked in a room as a child.
Her mum was at a church, and she kept going to this church, and she was locked in a room and with a monk, and this monk terrified her, and she was shouting out to her mum, "Help, help," and the mum wouldn't listen.
Was he abusing her, or sexually?
And he was about to, but she screamed so much that in the end he got frightened and over. But it terrified her so much, you see, that it controlled the whole of her life. And for me, for an example, when I was young, my mum and dad split up. Obviously, he was violent, so I picked up that pattern at an early age. That's what you do. That's home from home to me, and that's how I followed relationships like that. But when I was 7, he took us on holiday, and he took us in the shop to buy some sweets. And I wanted a rock, not the small one, not the big one, the medium size. And he said, "You're sly like your mother." Well, them words stayed with me the whole of my life. And literally, even to this day, as control me, it's like, "You're not good enough. You don't deserve it." And it's only on the money side of it. But it's such a, when I have to do a tender, I have to do something. I have to do my work first. I have to write and get my feelings out before I can do the actual tender. And it's all from that. So you can imagine the other things that go into our minds as a child.
Just little things
So
that you don't think have got much significance, and they ring true, don't they? Darling, I don't know if you want to share this. I'm trying to share this on your Facebook page, and I don't know how to do it. So just in a minute.
Yeah, from your page to mine, I can do that.
Yes. Or if
So
anybody else there could do it.
let's flash forward. You have this. So your client, she's had this childhood trauma with the monk being locked in the room. Flash forward. She comes and visits you.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know. I don't know how I do it, but she's just talking. She's talking about these relationships, and then I go, "Okay, so what was your childhood like?" And she said, "Oh no, it's really good." Okay, but this has come from somewhere. I feel that, and then I just say, "Okay, what was school like?" And then we went to that, and she went, "Okay," and she got into them feelings, and then I got it, and she got it, and it's just changed her life.
And how do you work the inner child into that whole scenario?
So what I do is, in that, like, if once you get it, you go back to that space and you talk from that space, and you try to describe whatever you can remember, if that makes sense.
As a child.
As a child, yeah. A lot
Do you
of people
find that their voices might get higher, like as if they're talking like a child?
Yes.
Sometimes.
You can always tell, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's very clever. Our inner child is amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
And we've got a little key inside us. We've just got to find it to unlock the door.
Allie and my inner child love playing. We're just two big kids.
We are. I wouldn't want to be anything else. And I swear it keeps you younger.
It does. And I think the thing is, once you start to recognize your patterns and your learnt behavior, you kind of take it away that it's not your fault anymore, because we carry that, don't we? We blame ourselves. We think we're not good enough. We're not this. We're not that. And we go around, we believe our faults, and it's our faults. It's almost like a computer in our minds. So all that learnt behavior we took in as the child is stuck there. And as we get older, it activates. And we don't know why. We're confused with this, with that. But actually, our faults are controlling us. So I do work with the mind a lot as well, and get them to kind of recognise that we are not our faults.
You were mentioning how you had these issues with your parents and, getting abused. How did you use your technique on yourself?
Okay, so I'll tell you where I met my inner child. So I was having therapy, and I was at college, and so we obviously touched on the inner child, but I never had a clue what he was talking about, I've got to be honest. And on this particular day, the boys was out with their dad. I was in the bath, and all of a sudden, I started talking from a 7-year-old. And I was like, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, please wake up, wake up." Because my mum used to have blackouts. And literally, I could not believe the feelings that was coming up in me from my inner child. And ever since that day, I've never let her go. And what I mean by that is, at first I was thinking, how do I work with this? Because I couldn't connect. So I used to visualize myself as a child, and I'd reach out, hold her hand, tell her she's safe and okay. And I still do it to this day. And that is what I encourage people to do.
Yeah.
Because it's that little girl that goes into that panic, to that fear, to that anxiety. Yeah.
So do you feel
you're telling yourself basically it's okay?
Yeah.
You're reaching out to yourself. Hold your own hand.
But I also, whoever knows me knows that I swear by writing. So when I first started back all them years ago, the tutor said part of the course was to do some journal writing. And the very first day that I went home, I wrote in my journal and said how scared I was to come outside because I thought my ex-partner was going to get me. But I was also proud of myself. And I've never stopped writing since, but in a different way. I obviously don't write essays anymore. I was writing all what I was learning about myself and all the things I liked, I didn't like. But now, if I wake up in the morning and I've got anxiety, I will just literally have my book there. It's not hurting anybody. And I will just put, I've got anxiety or I'm nervous. I'm safe. I'm okay. And it literally brings me back to the moment.
So you're basically mothering yourself as your, and that's what I wanted to say earlier. You're mothering yourself as you're holding your inner child's hand. Yep. You are becoming their mother, and you bought me a journal. You came into the shop and got me. I've still got my gold book. It's over there. So.
Oh yes, all my clients that I work with get a journal and a stone, a crystal.
That's what I love. Where do you get counsellors that do that? Just, I mean, it's like, you know, working with crystals, working with spiritual. So you, can you tell us a bit more about living in the moment and how that works in?
So I'm going to go by my story again, because then it kind of, I didn't know I was living in the moment basically. So I qualified as a counsellor. And at that point, I was engaged to a guy, and I found out I was pregnant at 40, and I was like, oh my God. And he left, so he didn't want to commit. So I, obviously, Holly's 17, she's just walked through the door, you heard her earlier. But we moved to Kent, me and my 3 children, and I was just committed, still committed to myself, even though I wasn't working as a counsellor because I was pregnant, I had 3 children, I was volunteering, and life was really hard because, you know, talking about picking up patterns, my sons had kind of picked up a bit from their dad, so it was hard, and obviously being a mum to a newborn baby, so I was really focusing on what I was doing in the moment, and it kept me going, if that makes sense. I was also very aware of what my mind was doing to me, keeping me trapped, telling me, you've got no life, everyone's out, look at them all on Facebook, all your friends are out doing this and doing that. And I just kept myself with whatever I was doing in the moment, fully present with that. But at that time, I didn't know I was living in the moment. So for me, as I say, now why I teach people to live in the moment, you know when you're in the moment because you're with the flow. When you go back to the past, you're trapped and you're stuck and it feels so real. So that's where the journal comes in to bring you back to the present moment. And how you do that is you really literally tune in with what you're doing now. And if you go to the future, it's the same thing. That's why, Ellie, how many times have you asked me to do things and I'm going, I find it really hard to plan ahead.
Yeah. I don't like to do it, but obviously when you're doing readings and things, you kind of have to do appointments and time zones and stuff like that. But our inner children are going, Mummy, we don't want to do that. We don't want to. So all the time we're trying to be, we're trying to play up and just do whatever we want to do, aren't we?
Yes. But yes, so for the living in the moment workshops, they really are, they're really powerful. And I send everybody a pack. I make sure, and this is just me, I just make sure everybody's got what they need. So they haven't got to go out and think, oh, I need to go and get that. And I want them to have it all there. And, you know, all the tools that I provide, I want them to have. So I send them all their packs and then we do it on Zoom and it's amazing.
That's
but
lovely.
I do like to get to know a little bit about them first.
Yes, yeah.
Obviously, because you know, I'm holding a group and there's triggers, so I want them to become aware of their triggers and that, you know, kind of take responsibility for your own self and your learning in this. So I'm holding it and being aware of, people's triggers as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that you don't say the wrong thing knowing that it's going to upset somebody, or prepare them first so that they know something's.
Yeah, and it's a teaching, it's a learning. The more you learn about yourself, the hardest times, the most growing. I think you know that. And it's so true. I just adopted that way. I just thought, well, okay, whatever I'm going through, I know I'm gonna learn something, and started to trust. It's trusting the process. It's trusting yourself. It's trusting the universe. It's just going with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
What do you find about, for example, fellow, colleagues or other people in the medical field? I know that when I was a child and family therapist, I would talk to people. I had already watched The Secret, and I would tell them all about it, and they'd think I was woo woo. And I believed I've had UFO sightings, and I would talk to them about it. I opened up to them, and most of them thought I was crazy, but I don't care what people think.
I don't care.
No. What do you find about? I mean, do you find that people are awakened? Can you talk more about it nowadays than me back in the early 2000s?
People often say to me, what is it about you that is successful? And honestly, I have a lot of clients that come to me and say, they've been to these counsellors, it's just not working, and they come out feeling worse. But what I would say is successful is being real, being honest. And I think that since I've been doing this for the last 6 years, a lot of people are putting it into practice now, who I work with. But sadly, the mental health team, no, it needs a bit more work on it. So, but that's why I want to meet more people, because we all need this support.
We do. I remember I had a friend who he was going through a lot. He was very depressed. He had spiritual attachments. He had mental health issues. He was under the mental health team, and he tried to commit suicide. His mum was desperate, so in her desperation, she came to me and said, could you help him? And I said, I can't, I don't know, I'll try. And so I worked with him. We got through it, and his team, he then within 3 months had turned around. I didn't tell him to get off his psychotic drugs. He did this himself. I said, I was nothing to do with that. I was just meeting him week by week by week.
Yeah.
And in the end, he got himself so well that he became an absolutely brilliant counsellor and a good psychic reader. He got in touch with his higher self and everything. And I was invited to the mental health team to give a talk to the other people there, to see if I could help anybody else. But as soon as I mentioned that we worked with angels, I wasn't allowed to have anything more to do with any of them.
I have a lot of beliefs. No, there's a lot of beliefs and conditions.
I could help so many.
I don't like the conditions. I kind of, it's like, what's the word? People, we have all this learnt behaviour and we're conditioned as a child, and I get them to uncondition themselves, basically.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
So
be who you are. Find the reason.
Yeah. Have you ever had to counsel people who are highly religious and kind of don't like all the other stuff? How do they react to you?
Well, I go with them. Like I had a lady once, and bless her, she's not here anymore. This was when I was working for Macmillan, and she was really religious, and I only spoke about meditation, and straight away she put her hands up. That's it. So I just didn't mention it anymore to her, because I just knew I'm not going to get through to her otherwise. I'm just going to trigger her. But she did follow the other way with me, if that makes sense. So it's just fine to
find the what?
She still went with the tools that I gave her.
Okay.
And she still grew, and she was looking after herself and doing all the right things. So it's just finding a way in, really.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the whole inner child technique. Now, there's certain things like, say somebody was labeled, bipolar or schizophrenic, you know, and you need some kind of benzodiazepine like Klonopin or something to treat them with. You wouldn't be taking care of somebody like that. But then again, I was thinking, what if there was somebody that was obsessive compulsive? That might be something different, where you could bring them back to a point in time where all of a sudden they're counting every Lego or every domino, or they start counting things obsessively.
Yeah.
You could probably use that with that.
Yes, you could. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think, my own personal experience is that until you work with the inner child, because you know, as I say, this is a computer in your mind. It's what we've taken in as that youngster. And until we work with our inner child, no real therapeutic, it really can't, you know, we've got to make that connection somewhere. That's what I've come across. So because our inner child is amazing. And, you know, there we go again. Once I start talking about the inner child, my passion just comes alive. Honestly, it's so magic. It's unbelievable. We all got that key inside, but we don't believe in ourselves. 9 times out of 10, we don't feel good enough, you know. And actually, once you find the real you, watch this space.
It seems like men would be less likely to show that inner child, because it shows that they're vulnerable. All of a sudden, they let their defenses down, which is what I did with my daughter, and that was easy in that situation. And I think most men, I can't say any, but most men with daughters would probably fall into that, you know, situation where, you know, like my daughter had me wrapped around her little finger, but that would bring down. But it just, I don't know. It's just an observation. It seems like, you know, men would seem to have their guards up more than.
I think. I just can't. I really don't know, because I kind of work with them first. I don't. So if they come to me for bereavement and loss, I work with that. Then I start to bring them into the moment. But then we normally make a connection with our inner child. Once they do, the men, they thrive. Honestly, I can't tell you. It's when they start to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
That's when it works.
Yeah. And
I've got
how many
weeks do you like me to read to you?
Sorry, say that again.
I wrote this little poem when I was.
Oh.
I'll read it if you want me to. Would you like me to?
Yeah, of course.
Find it. Here it is. Let me just put my glasses on so you can see. So this is when I was really going through it, and I was pregnant with Holly. So it's called Meeting My Inner Child. So little children of the world, don't be afraid of who you are. Look inside and see what you see. Feel what you feel, because it is so real. Please don't push your feelings away, because you may feel scared to look or feel them. You sure are going to need them. They belong to you and will guide you through your life as you strive to live this life. If you are scared, then allow yourself to feel scared. You will become used to the feeling and it will be your friend. If you hate, then it's for a reason. Please don't ignore it. Accept it as you're feeling. Hate, love, resentment, disgust, respect, praise, caring, sharing, betrayal. Accept them all. They are your key to freedom. Please, little child, allow yourself to just be. You are beautiful and free. Don't change if you can help it. You are who you are. No one can hurt you if you accept all your feelings, even if it is to yourself. Don't hide them and live a crippled life. Share them with yourself. Be proud to be clever and know who you are. Don't let people take them away. They are yours to treasure, even if you don't like them. Make them your friend. Make your beautiful self your friend. Take it from a lost child that didn't have this knowledge and who can feel the feelings I hid when I was a child, just to survive in a horrible world which could have been so beautiful If only I trusted in you, my child. People try to take us away from our real self, who was once so free. By becoming aware, you can love yourself back to the real you. You are not mad, little child, far from it. Learn to just be united and whole.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I felt that. I really felt that. Wow. It's like
You know,
something happens inside you, doesn't it? When you connect with you, when your inner child is being acknowledged. It's like,
Yes.
I've always wanted to be acknowledged, mum or dad. I've always wanted to be acknowledged.
and you know, if you look at why the inner child gets locked away, you, it's the parents, it's society, it's both. It's, you
It
know,
is.
grow up,
It's
you know,
schools. It's
get
everything.
up, get a
School,
job, and grow up. Be
Yes.
responsible. You
yep.
know.
School does it,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It can be a sentence, can't it? Like I said, it's don't cry, stop crying. Da-da,
Yeah.
da-da, da-da, da-da. You know,
Yeah.
and we get that fear, and we're told
Repress,
not to do it, so we don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
repress
But it
those
is,
feelings.
to be quite honest, to me, it's like a spell. And that's where what that poem's about. It is a spell, and I was locked in a spell for many, many years, and that spell can still come back just because I'm fully aware of it and I know how to accept myself and move through it. It's still there. It's so automatic.
Yeah.
So it's learning about them triggers, learning what does that. Does that make sense?
I was watching a post game interview with a coach in American football last year, and it was the last. I think it was the last game of the season, and it was the coach of the Detroit Lions. He's talking about the effort that his team put out there, and he was so proud of them that he started crying, and you could see the tears dripping down his face. But they lost, but I believe they lost that game. But the team played really, really hard, and they believed in him. And they had a strong finish at the end of the season, and he was just so proud of them that he was crying. I'm thinking, this guy, he, a, a, somebody that has to be in this world of macho sports and stuff like that, able to show his emotions like
100%.
that. Yeah, he can. He's in touch with that inner child easily. Or if
Yeah.
he, he isn't at the moment. Oh, of course he was, because he was able to cry on TV in front of a large crowd. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
It is better now than it has been. I mean, now people don't just kind of jump at men when they show their emotions. Most women find it actually a bit of a turn on that a man can actually show his inner
Oh,
child
God, yeah.
and show his feminine side.
But it's got to be a balance too.
There has
You
to
don't want to be a
balance.
sissy.
No.
Well, I don't. Well, I don't want to be. You got to have
No.
that balance of masculine and feminine. The protector, the warrior, plus the softer side, the lover.
Oh, yes. Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, what I discovered as well is that obviously when I first started at the college training, I was so dysfunctional. But I became a fully functional person. But that doesn't mean to say life's perfect. It's far from perfect. But I will never, ever deny what I'm feeling. I will never skip over it. I will never push it away. Even if I just say it to myself, I'm sad or I'm angry, I'm safe, I'm okay. It's like you're talking to yourself, but you're quickly bringing yourself back because you're aware of what's happening. It is that awareness, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Total sense. Absolutely total
When we were
sense.
talking about, what, the what brings it on. Yeah, Mark, one of our
Mark,
moderators. It's
yeah.
our toxic society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Ali said, school and
It's school, it's just a lot of things.
parents, everything. Yeah.
There needs to be a new type of school for children for sure.
Well,
So called for.
100%. When I work because I work in a school as well, and well, I don't anymore. I did, and do you know what? I've got some amazing stories from the children, but I give them a little scrapbook, or a big scrapbook, and I get them to draw their feelings, and I get them to become aware. We stick it in there. They honestly so amazing. And I say to them, when we're finished, take that book with you. When you get older, look back in that book. There's your answers. You know,
Yeah.
talking about suicide. You know, there was a young boy that I had 10, and I was getting him to look at his cycle, how he was feeling, and to name what the feelings was. And in there, he was putting, I don't feel good enough, I don't feel loved, I want to commit suicide, he put. How amazing. Now, the thing is, he actually wrote that, and underneath it, he put, I'm not going to do it, but the feeling's strong. And just by accepting that,
Yeah.
he
It
was
heals.
able to come back and move through it. And this is so important, because this is why we've got it now in society. Yeah, because it's from that child that we believe it so much. We believe our thoughts. We are constantly chatting to ourselves, all this negative talk, and we believe it. And so, but that is not who we are.
How do we correct this though
It's
before
becoming
it
aware.
gets into adulthood?
Yeah, it's because when I work with people, that's why I go back, if that makes sense. I get them to look at their patterns and everything. But for me, the way that I do it is just my self-awareness. I've been committed to my self-awareness. I will never run away from it. As hard as it is at times, and it is, I'm just there. My journal, my writing, it really helps. So you're right. When you're writing in that journal, you are normally writing from a child space. Even though you're writing from that adult space, it's the child that's writing.
Are you writing with crayons?
Anything. See if I can.
She actually does give you crayons in your pack.
I'm gonna do everything. Yeah, I'll give you crowns in my pack.
I've seen the pack. She puts crayons in there.
Yeah, I do.
I want
Because
some
it's,
crayons.
you know, as well. And then this is another thing. It's like when we get the feelings like we don't want to live anymore, or we're not, you know, what's the point? Again, these need to come out. So you just get the great big piece of paper and you just write it on there. Don't want to be here anymore. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And you come back.
You're not swallowing it down. You're not
No.
suppressing it. It doesn't then come out and fester later
Honestly.
on. Can I just say, Mark, you're doing an amazing job, UFO Mark. Thank you so much for doing all the moderating there. Thank you so much. And we haven't said hello to everybody on there, but we haven't ignored. We just obviously I've been kind of looking at the comments as well as we're going along. So thank you.
The last time I was over there in the UK, we went shopping. We went to this like dollar store. Allie bought a bunch of toys for the kids, and I'm thinking I want to play with them.
Were they for the kids?
There was like this little miniature golf thing, and I'm like, I want to play that.
That's it.
Yeah. Love it. And hoopla, the old-fashioned hoopla and things like that.
Yeah,
it's great.
And dancing is good, because when you're dancing, even just dancing by yourself, just get it out. Acceptance of ourselves. This is what we need.
When Brittany was little, when it would rain, when we were living in upstate New York, it would rain and we'd make rain hats and we'd put on old clothes and old sneakers and we would jump in every mud puddle. And people would drive by and they'd see this adult doing that and probably thinking I'm crazy. We had so much fun. And the bottom line is, I always told Brittany, if you didn't get dirty, you didn't have fun. What she was doing was building up her immunity system as well.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. You loved being daddy, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you still love being a dad, but being with the young Brittany.
Yeah, she's an amazing young lady now. Yep.
So where are you now? What are you're because you wasn't able to take on clients, but now you are.
I can take on some clients because obviously I've got to. The main thing is as well that we take self-care seriously. We need to look after ourselves to be able to do it. So again, like I think you said before, Greg, with the balance, it's so important to get that balance right. And I haven't been able, I have done private work, but I've been so busy and through so much that, I've had to get the balance right. So now I'm able to take on some private clients, obviously, and run work. I want to expand. I want to help more people. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
It needs to get out there.
It does. It does. And the other thing is teaching other therapists the way that I think that's going to be a big thing. So have you got any plans to maybe
I'd
help
love
people
to do
who've got counselling skills and maybe they want to kind of take it to the next level like
Yes.
you?
Yeah, I'd love to do it.
So could
Because
they
I would-
contact you if they've
Yeah.
got that? And this could be worldwide. There doesn't have to be
Yeah.
any limitations with Zoom and everything. There's no limitations or clientele,
No.
you know,
Well, the
to
thing
have new
is,
clients.
it's the self-awareness, and you know, to be a good therapist, I feel like you have to have that self-awareness. Otherwise, if you come across as a textbook counsellor, the client will pick it up. Nothing's going to happen, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
self-awareness is what teaches us.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. It's hard, but it's exciting. You know, I remember the hardest time of my life, but my book was my best friend. And this is why I believe in it so much, my writing. That's why you've got one hand, Ali. I can't remember what you was going through at the time, but I remember dropping it off to you.
I know. Yeah, I didn't do it as much as I should, though. That's definitely. I didn't. I'd still need to.
I mean, the thing is, as well, it's not about writing all the time, but you know, sometimes when you are feeling stuck and you really feel down or you're feeling really low, just scribbling the words. I feel really low. I'm really down. You know,
See,
whatever
I do it on record. I record my voice memo. So it's the same kind of thing. I get my thoughts and everything and emotions out using that rather than writing. So I suppose it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everybody's different. That's just my way. But, you know, for me, it really works. I've got so many journals everywhere and I just grab whatever one it is. And also being honest. So, for an example, when I run my workshops, if I'm having a bad morning, I'm not going to sit there and put on a fake smile and just make out everything's okay because it's not going to work. You know, actually, I'm having a really bad morning. I've got a bit of anxiety. And as soon as I say that, I'm back. I'm present.
Yeah.
Flows.
You've released it and able. So we've got a question here, exactly the same time. We've got a question here from Elaine. Define self-care, please.
Okay. So self-care is just like when Ali was saying, how many can you take on? It's about taking care of my health first, myself, because if I just say yes to everybody and I'm not going to have no time for me, like to just do my walk or to take care of myself, I'm going to be ill. I'm not going to be present. Just, you know, and if I'm just doing it because I'm just want to do it and say yes, it's not going to work. Self-care is saying no at times, you know, and it's like even with our families, no, actually, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, you need that time for yourself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Shush now, Greg. Shush now.
No, it's true.
You know what? And I love Ali so much because she puts love in front of her own needs, but she's doing that and she's putting her own health ahead
Don't start me on that one, Greg, because I have told Ali this so many times.
Her heart is so big and loving, and she puts that ahead of her health.
But you need to have that self-care before you can help others.
I know.
No, you don't.
I need to have a whole day off. I never have a whole day off. Ever.
Oh, Ali.
I don't. I don't. So I do need to.
And again, I get that because when you're working and you have that passion for what you're doing, it's not like a job.
It's not a chore.
No, I am the same. I am the same, but I do know. Stop.
I will say, being self-employed, having a day off, sometimes you can't necessarily afford to take the finger off the pedal.
No, exactly.
Off the pedal. And if there was enough money, I would gladly take a week off or a day off or whatever. But there's always something in your head saying, I've got to think ahead and it's going to be quite difficult. So it is hard to get that balance. It is hard, but I know that I need to. So I think what Elaine was saying, how can someone else give themselves that self-care? What's an example of that self-care?
We do this on the workshop as well. So what I say to people, before you say yes, check inside. Can I do this? Do I want to do this? How is this going to affect me? Yes. Because, you know, sometimes we just say yes and then we think, oh, why did I say yes? Because I've got this, this, and
Yeah,
this
that's
to do.
true.
I'm still piling up. It's just literally tuning in with yourself.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
It is
I
so
actually did that today because there was someone I know who was absolutely desperate for a reading, and it was time related. Does that make sense? Like, I've got to have it done. I've got to have it done before then. And I just couldn't see myself being able to fit it in.
No.
The whole weekend, it's like tomorrow we've got, not tomorrow, Sunday, we've got our 12-hour kind of
Yep.
thing going on. There was just no way of fitting it in before Monday, and I felt bad about it, but then I thought, can't do it.
So when you feel bad about it, that's when you write in your book, I'm feeling really bad. Da, 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 da. Let it go. Don't hold it.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is where holding on and letting go comes in. Yeah.
Yes. Admitting that I wanted to, but I couldn't.
Yes. And it is okay to say no.
Yeah. Because sometimes, I mean, obviously I say these things in my readings, does that make sense? But sometimes we're the worst people to actually take that back on ourselves. And I do say that when I'm doing the readings, like, I'm saying this to you, but I'm crap at it too. Because again, I want to be real. Do you know what I mean? In the reading, it's like, you know, I'm telling you what my guides are saying, but my guides are also telling me.
Yes, because when you do go over, when you do neglect yourself, you're going to feel it afterwards. You get a headache, you get irritable, you get angry with yourself. You think, oh, why didn't I do that? You know, and I do get that bit as well when someone does ask you and you really want to help them.
Because you know how difficult it is for them at that
Yes.
time. It's like, what do you do?
But
I mean,
put your boundaries in.
Difficult with family though, isn't it, as well? Do you know what I mean? The family
You have
needs
to,
it. Like,
Ali, you have to have your boundaries. You have to.
it's hard. It's tricky.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, it is tricky.
Yeah. I mean, what advice would you give on setting boundaries?
Would you give
For
boundaries
me,
up front or on the time? Like,
if someone was to ask, well, you know, Ali, when you've asked me before, and I check in by myself, don't I? And I say, oh,
yeah,
I'm not sure I can say that yet. So I always check in with myself. I make sure I've got a diary as well. That's really important. What am I doing on that day? Am I going to overload myself?
yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good one.
So boundaries is really checking in with yourself. And again, it's that question, how is this going to affect me? Do I want to do this? What works for me? Actually, I need some time off. I need to go for a walk. I need this. I need that. It's not selfish. It's self-care.
Yeah,
If that
because
makes
then
sense.
the stewardess on a flight says you have to put your mask
Yes.
on first before you help
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
But if you're a service to others person, you're not going to be asking yourself those questions. You're going to be saying, what more can I do?
I don't know,
And
exactly.
putting more on your plate, you
But you
know?
get ill. Honestly, this is what happens. We go on and on and on, and we become ill. And then we go, oh, what do I need to do now? So what we want to try to do is to stop ourselves getting that ill. Yeah.
Beforehand.
Beforehand.
Yeah. You know, what you could do is sort of like say, right, I need a day off. What you do is you say to everybody you're working that day.
Yes, I do that.
Not. Are you allowed to do that? Is that?
Yes.
But you're not lying because you are booking that to be you.
Yeah.
Is that a lie or is that?
No,
Yeah. Is that okay to do that?
I'm always telling the kids I'm working, or the family. And I'm hiding.
my family get it. They go, you know, it's like, you know,
No, actually, people like it when you put the self-care in because it encourages them to do it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
We think people don't like the word no, but they soon get used to it, she says.
Yeah, exactly. Greg's in deep contemplation there. I can see his click, click, click. What are you thinking?
No, I was just trying to think about, I'm still back on just being a workaholic and
I
trying
know
to,
we both are.
We both are, but
how do
some
you set
I.
boundaries as a workaholic? When you get gratitude out of helping others, when you
I know. I'm the same. I
But
am
you
the
do
same.
it, darling. You do it. You go, do you know what? I'm going down the beach.
Yes, you do go
haven't
down
been
the
to
So
the
beach.
beach
that's
in
Yeah.
3
your,
weeks. Haven't been
which
there
is
in
your
3
inner
weeks.
child going, I'm sulking, Daddy. You haven't taken me to the beach today.
I want to go to the beach. I want to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Your inner child is sulking.
I go to the beach as well.
Probably.
It's uplifting, isn't it? It brings you back.
Yeah.
When all
We all
else
live near
fails,
the
go
beach,
to
all
the
of us,
beach.
don't we? I mean,
Mm.
Julie only lives around the corner from me.
Uh-huh.
So, but we keep saying we're going to meet up. We're going to go, we don't do it, do we? We
No,
need to do it. Yeah.
I'm always here.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Do you work with children as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I love working with children because, as I
Uh-huh.
say, then when they get older, they've got their own tools. And I say to them, keep your little scrapbook, never let it go, hide it. And when you're the adult, go back to it because there's your answers. Yeah.
yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
one of the things they taught us here in the States in child psychology, and I thought it was pretty fascinating, is if you're working with a child, you can do the house, tree, person test. We have them draw a house or a tree or a person. And if you have a sheet of paper and they draw themselves down in the lower quadrant, a little tiny person like that, it says a lot about them. The house, if it doesn't have a door handle to it, says they're closed off, but the
100%.
windows are shut. There's all sorts of things you can look at by a child's the way a child draws. I thought that was
Yeah.
like a really
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. I,
Subliminal.
I, I had a very young child, bless him, and his mum died when she gave birth to him. And he was so lovely. Anyway, he was staying with his dad's mum, that was his nan, and he said, I just don't like staying there. I'm really, really scared. He said, so I said, okay, what is it? Anyway, I said, let's get the paper and the crowns. And he said, there's this mirror. He said, and in the bedroom, he said, I can see all these horrible things coming out the mirror. So I said, okay, let's draw it. And he drew it. And I said to him, describe it as much as you can. So he drew knives and all these horrible things, monsters coming out this mirror. And after he'd finished it, and I said, right, okay, what does it make you feel like? So he wrote scared and all the feelings he was feeling. When he finished, I said, okay, let's get another piece of paper now. And he drew it in colour. I said, now what would you like that mirror to look like? And he drew an
Wow.
angel, and it was his mummy. And
Aw.
so every time he went to
Oh,
stay at his nan's, he was happy. Yeah.
oh, that's so
Lovely,
sweet.
lovely boy. Yeah.
So you see now, me, if a child was drawing that sort of thing, I'd be like, oh my God, let's quickly turn the page and do something else. So you're saying to let that flow, let the fear flow, and then replace it
So
with
once they get it out,
something.
because they've acknowledged it, haven't they? Then he's getting it
Yeah,
out. Yeah,
correct. So they
he's
haven't
accepting
repressed
that that's
it.
there, and then he's putting it back with the positive, if you like, to what he wants that mirror to be like.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
the kids are amazing. Honestly, I think the younger you work with them, the better because they are really, really amazing. I love them all. Brilliant.
Wouldn't it be lovely if you could go around all the schools and they can
Yeah,
have a day with Julie
I'd love
or
to
one of
work.
your team, and that could be, they would never forget that lesson. They'd always remember that.
Honestly, I do. But they're amazing. And also I find that the people that I work with would make the best counsellors because they really get it and they really would know how somebody else feels, if that makes sense, because they've
Yes,
worked through it with themselves.
yes, yeah. So people are going to be asking this. They're going to be saying, okay, so I need counselling. How can I get hold of you? And it's through the email address here.
Yeah,
And it doesn't matter where you are.
do
You
Zoom.
can do it through Zoom, and you can work through the time zone thing as well, can't you?
Yeah,
Yeah. And the work.
I was curious. Do you have any adults who didn't have any childhood issues?
Yes, they all
Had
say
adult
it.
issues. You know,
Lots of them say it.
Yeah.
A lot of them say, no, I'm okay. And then they go, no, my childhood was okay. And then when we do the inner child week, they go, oh, there was something, you know? And they're very relaxed when we go into the inner child week. And
Yeah.
but it's not, again, it's not their parents' fault because their parents have got the learnt behaviour. But it's just looking at, you know, what you took in as that child and how it affects your life. You know, because you follow the same kinds of patterns. It's like learning to talk. It's automatic.
Albert Bandura had that theory of modeling. And basically that says that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You're going to model the behavior of your parents, basically. So, you know, my parents, I got hit with a belt. You know, if I did something really bad, I got hit with a belt. I remember one time
That's how it was back then, wasn't it?
in 8th grade, um, my father came down to hit me with his strap, and I tried to get away, and it caught me diagonally across my back. And I had gym class later on that morning, and I went into the boys' room, and I lifted my shirt up, and I still had a mark across my back, and I skipped gym class that day because I was too embarrassed. But that was the day, through introspection, I said to myself, if I ever have children, I will never hit them.
Do that.
That's where the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That's where Bandura's theory of modeling goes completely out the window. But I mean, what are the odds of a child using introspect to break the cycle?
You either go one way or another, don't you? You either copy it or and I'm very much like what you did. I say no, I would not do that because I get it, because I know how I felt as that child. But some people think it's normal, you know. But once you start to talk to them and they start to look at that and see what happened to them, that's when the change can happen. But it's that awareness.
Yes.
But it's taking the choice to, do I really want to look at myself? Do I, you know, and again, becoming aware of our thoughts, that is so important, because the mind is so powerful, isn't it? It's always in play, and it's always telling us how bad we are, and oh my God, we've got to do this, we've got to do that,
and then
it controls us.
You get it from the TV and all the programs and everything. And
but you know, awareness and being aware of our thoughts and introspect, that's not something that's taught to children generally.
No, as an adult now. So for me, can I talk from my experience? If I get the thoughts of, how can I put it? I'm not good enough is a big one. Or say someone ignoring me. Someone ignores me. It's an instant trigger. And then it sets off a cycle, doesn't it? It goes from one thought to another, to another, to another, to another. And then you feel absolutely crap and you're on the floor, basically. Yeah? That is the thought process. I'm so aware of what's going on. I just grab that pen and I do it, because I know that if I try to push it away, it's going to make me feel so much worse.
But do we reason then, and we think to ourselves, that person might be busy genuinely, that person may be just, I mean, they're not deliberately ignoring.
In my centre, of course I would.
Yep.
But if something else was going on in my life that's triggered me anyway, like for an example, when I've had a split up or a break up with somebody and I'm not feeling good in myself, etc., you're in that zone. So anything can come along and boom, you're off. So it's just being aware of you, and you start acting differently. You start thinking differently and you start acting differently, if that makes sense. It's catching it.
Yeah.
But it takes practice. I mean, as I say, I've been doing this for a really long time. It still gets me. So, it's a journey.
There's some lovely comments here. Can I share some with you here? Look. So Leona from Australia, as light workers and givers, we do need to look after ourselves, and this takes practice and more practice. Boundaries are essential for our sanity.
Yes.
And then you've got our lovely Phil, whose birthday it was yesterday. Happy birthday,
Yes,
Phil, for
belated happy birthday, bro.
This is the issue, how we're
Yes.
programming our children,
Yes.
how we are programming, how we were programmed as
Yeah.
children as well. Yeah. The inner child work is like shadow work
Yeah.
with that. I would say that a lot of our dis-ease is from our childhood trauma and
Yes.
negative programming. So a lot
It's
of
Phil
people
Counsellor.
are
It's
feeling
Phil
it. And
Counsellor. Is he a
yeah,
counsellor?
he's a Reiki master, and he does a lot of healing and things. So yeah, yeah, he gets it. He gets it. I know. It's lovely. So can you just, before we wrap it up, I just wanted to find out workshop wise. So do you do workshops periodically? Are they ongoing? Do you have to start at the beginning? Are they kind of like per week, or is it a one-day thing? How does your workshops work?
So at the moment I've not done private 6-week workshops because I've been so busy doing them for where I'm working. But I can do them now, maybe in the evening or something. But I also do a self-discovery 1-day workshop, which is a bit of everything. But the main thing that I do on my self-discovery day one is the inner child exercise. And it's very relaxing. It's lovely. I just try and bring a little bit of everything into it. It's just a taster, but the inner child is a full-on what I would do in a 6-week one anyway. But that's what I used to do here, Ali, in the Horsebridge Centre. So yeah.
And when's your next workshop starting, Julie?
I haven't planned it yet.
So as soon as you've got enough numbers, maybe?
I haven't put myself out there yet, Ali. It's only
now.
from talking to you.
You have now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's exciting, and I think once you're basically giving yourself what you needed back then. And like I say, it's not whether you had a good childhood or a bad childhood. It is what you actually took in. It could be at school. You're scared to go to school, whatever it may be. But you're going to heal your inner child, love your inner child, believe in your inner child. Let your inner child shine. Let your inner child out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I highly recommend, even if it's just one session, just to see what this. She's amazing. You'll keep going back. I guarantee it. Yeah, it changes your life.
Link is in the more info section for her
It
email.
is. And it's also scrolling across the page as well.
Right now.
So you've got julie.rogers23@yahoo.com. So you can message Julie directly.
Yep.
There's lots of people are understanding. I think Marejo said this place is more crowded. I'm looking forward to meeting Julie. There we are. And Greg said, did you go into the same one?
My mom hit me with a wooden spoon and burnt me with clothes iron. Wow.
Oh, Greg.
That sucks, Greg.
I'm sorry.
I feel your pain, bro.
Mm.
The thing is, as well, it's so it stays with us. But when as hard as it is, when we go back there and we try to express it and get it out, we can get it out in a creative way, whatever works for us. We are healing that inner child, and we're giving our inner child that love back, and we're hearing their voice, if that makes sense. The pain.
Yeah.
We're not ignoring our inner child anymore.
No. Not.
Greg, to Greg real quick, it's important, as we were just talking about, you have that opportunity to end a cycle. So,
yes.
From this point forward, that all that stuff can end. And here's one thing, and I hate to, I know people don't like looking at it as a possibility, but is it possible that the child that was abused by the parent was the parent abusing the child in a previous lifetime, and this is how karma
Yeah.
plays back. Is that possible? I think 100% possible.
Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah.
I was, for example, I was the one that was hitting my father with a strap in a previous lifetime. And in this lifetime, I said, yeah, that sucked. You're right. I'm done with that, you know?
Yeah.
I think the thing is as well is not to give the mind too much thought as well. And that's why I do work with the minds, because the thoughts and everything, because like I say, it's a cycle and it's a spell and it keeps us stuck.
Yeah, it's getting past that, getting out of the...
Yeah. It's what I try to encourage people to do is to eventually become aware of their conditioning so that they can allow the thoughts to pass like the clouds in the sky and not bring them down and believe them and cling to them. Yeah. When we do that, that's when we get stuck. That's when we need to do that bit of writing. And then we can let them pass on again.
Release it.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
Sorry, I go on and on and on. You know what it's like when you get into your passion. But thank you for having me.
We can feel it. We can feel your passion for what you do. We also understand that passion because that's what we do.
I know.
And that's why we want to talk to as many people as possible who've got this passion and, you know, get people better known out there. So at the moment, Julie doesn't have a website, but I think Greg may be helping you with it. Well, you said you have got a website, but you don't use it.
No, I don't really. I've got my person-centered page on Facebook.
Yeah.
Julie Rogers, person-centered counsellor living in the moment on Facebook.
Okay. Perhaps we can add that maybe somehow. Do you know how to add that, Greg?
I'll look into it.
We'll add it. We'll add it somehow. So if you can message it over to me, Julie, then I'll pass it on to Greg. Yeah. So does anybody in the have any questions that they want to ask Julie before we go? So we've got a few people here chatting away. So yeah, if there's anything that you guys want to ask before we go. I mean, I just think it's unique. I would like to see you starting up teaching other counsellors. I would really love to see that, because I think that's important now. Spread that word, you know. Yeah. So I'm just, it sometimes delays everything. Because we use my Facebook page and not Greg's, we haven't got as many people have seen it. But it'll be shared out there. So I encourage everybody, please share this, get it as wide as possible, because there's some things, you know, it could be that, you know, you perhaps don't need the counselling, but maybe you know someone who does, or maybe just listening to this can help with a few kind of, you know, advice things, you know, when you get triggered, how to get past that, what to do. Yeah. So it's been wonderful, Julie. So if there are any more questions, I'll forward them over to you.
Okay, thank you. I've just put it in the chat with my person page on Facebook. I've done that.
Oh, brilliant. So is it on my Facebook page?
I don't know. I've never used this before, but I've just I've just typed it out and sent it on the chat.
Oh, I see. Yes, it's in the private chat here. I got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Oh, no, it's not. I don't know where that would have gone.
Okay.
But we'll find it. We'll find it, and yeah. Okay. We'll sort that. So it is on my page as well. You know, you can find Julie from in my friends list, and it's got your photo clearly on your page, hasn't it? So yeah. Oh, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
I kind of threw Greg in a little bit. He didn't have any time to prepare whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned it, but I hadn't reminded him of when it was. So Sorry.
It's okay.
But with his background in therapy, he's got lots of knowledge there. So
Yes, he can help me. We can do it together.
I would consider that when I move
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially, on the workshops as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be brilliant.
That'd be awesome. That would be.
No, it would be. It would be really good.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
thank you.
All right. Well,
No,
yeah.
it's
Thank
been
you for
wonderful.
joining us.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you everybody who's joined us here. Please like, subscribe, and share this as much as possible. We
All right.
appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Thanks again, everyone. Take care. Links are in the more info section.
Yeah.
Bye.
Are you hitting the